All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Kitchen Table Literary Arts Center virtual release for Our Voices, Our Community Anthology. And we're very thankful to have all of you all here with us. Once again, if you didn't hear, this event is being recorded so that we can post this as far as later on so other people can view this and be a part of this as well. Um, very quickly. Once again, I want to welcome you all for this special event, and I want to thank everyone. Big thank you and shout out to everyone who helped us bring this to life. Thank you to the Poetry Foundation, one of our funders and sponsors for this. We also want to give a special thank you to Kyla Nima Nuruddin for the cover letter. I'm sorry, Kyla, if I said your last name wrong.
I can't let that ride. It's
Yeah.
Kaula Naima Nurdin.
Nordine, okay. You can ask
Yeah.
Nyasha. I practice. I said, I know her first name. I said, great. Now we're recording and it's gonna be on there that I don't butcher the last name. So and I practice this, people. I practice for a reason. So thank you so much. As well as a shout out to Amadeus Signs as well. And to all the wonderful writers tonight that you're going to hear and others who contribute their work to this creation. You're also going to be able to hear from some of the ones who help with the behind the scenes getting this out. And that will be our editor, Nyasha. And we're very thankful for her as well. And then we do ask that if you have any questions, real quick, during this reading, if you can either put them in the chat, Nyasha, keep an eye on the chat, or you can just write them down because we're going to have a Q&A at the end instead of in between each writer reading. At the end, we'll just have a collective Q&A where you can put your questions up and we'll go ahead on it and read those out loud and the writers can answer those. So any questions, you can put them in the chat, Nyasha got them, or just save them and write them in later. And so, with that being said, we're going to go ahead on and get started here. I'm going to start us off with. I'm very excited to read from the introduction of our anthology. That's where we're going to start. After that, it'll be my pleasure to introduce our editor, Nyasha, who's actually going to read from her editor's note. And then we will hear the foreword from Yuki, and then we'll be able to hear from our amazing writers that are in this anthology. So. It is not easy to be a Black artist in this world where so many places, institutions, and systems attempt to mute, and discredit our voices and our stories. But in the words of Toni Morrison, this is precisely the time when artists go to work. In the moments when we are told to be quiet and hush, we should speak louder. When our work is banned, we keep creating more art that will always find its way into the world. Our Voices, Our Community is an anthology of Florida that refuse to be quiet or hushed. The artists in this anthology have decided to speak louder, to create more, and do the work we are called to do. The voices in this anthology resound across the literary spectrum, showcasing Black writers' abilities to speak, craft, and express boundlessly in the areas of fiction, fantasy, nonfiction, and poetry. Literary genre takes a symbolic form in this anthology. It's a testament to the creative diversity in our community. As a Black, Florida born, and Southern raised artist, I take pride in the natural versatility and fluidity embedded in my culture in the depths of my homeland. We are all one of many things. And this anthology explores and celebrates Black versatility across genres and themes. Our legacies and reflections are proof that we have always been here, that family, chosen and otherwise, has the deepest impact on our identity. We take pride in our ancestry, having our daddy's voices and our mama's everything else. Our voices, our experience, our communities, our stories matter. The Our Voices, Our Community anthology is a collective of Black voices and shared feelings, values, and experiences. It is my privilege to present this array of creative spirits who write, reside, and claim this Everglade as home. Thank you all so much. And now at this time, we will hear from our editor, Nyasha.
Good greetings, everyone. Thank you, Slam. It is wonderful to put faces to the names. I have read those of you who are contributors to our voices, our community. I've read your pieces a dozen times plus over the course of the last year or so, and have emailed you and know your names and your pieces so well. And for many of you, I'm seeing your face for the first time. So it's just, it's an honor to be here, and welcome everyone else who's here this evening. So I'm reading just a short excerpt from the editor's note. The second half of the editor's note, I detailed every single writer and just kind of put some of my own appreciation and kind of summary of your pieces. So I'm going to stop just short of that. And although the details are there after where I'm going to end. Editor's notes. The anthology you're holding marks our voices, our communities' first year as an anticipated contributor to a new literary space. No collection of creative work emerges from isolation or soundlessness. It is the result of collaboration and the varied voices of our community. I wish to extend my gratitude to all who have contributed, the authors, the poets whose words have become the heartbeat of this collection, the reviewers, editors, and advisors who lent their expertise, time, and insight, the graphic and visual production team, whose dedication gave shape to our shared vision, and Kitchen Table Literary Arts, whose presence reminds me that a sturdy, purposeful gathering place is still the center of home. I'm inspired by the literary traditions and detours that precede us, and by those creatives who continue to show us what community can be. Like dialogue, the practice of writing is as much about discipline and work as it is about creativity. And each submission, each page, each line, each syllable is part of a necessary conversation, a living library of real and imagined experience that allows us to explore what is possible when there are open seats at the kitchen table and community is invited to speak. I see you, I hear you, and I am honored to have been part of a creative project that will undoubtedly serve as the foundation for future conversations. This first issue, a collection of short stories, narrative essays, and poems composed by 16 storytellers, is organized by varied tone and style and structured within 3 thematic measures: love, fortitude, and growth and gratitude. It is an opening to creative sound, even if you choose to engage with each word in silence, and to the revelatory dialogue that speaks in tangent with broader conversations past and yet to be heard. The expression of our voices is always in community, always in creative conversation, always complete and unfinished. You will hear reconciliations with identity, mental health, family, loss, anger, desire, violence, responsibility, love, joy, and power, along with inconclusive life lessons that linger in light and shadows beyond the page. It truly has been an honor to be part of this project, and I look forward to hearing all of you, as we continue this evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nyasha, for that. Appreciate you. I'm sorry, it's so weird when you don't hear people clapping, y'all. I got to hear it to myself when that's that.
I
And
see
with
the little hearts
yeah,
going up, though.
I
Thank you for
love
that. Thank
I
you for the
love that
love.
part.
Thank you for the
Please
love.
Yes, please feel free to use the interactions. That is how we continue to engage with each other on these virtual platforms. So I love the interactions as well. So with that, we are going to go ahead and move forward to being able to hear the amazing voices of these writers who contribute to this beautiful creation. Once again, thank you all for being here. And we're going to go ahead on and get started with our first writer on our list here. Please send your reactions for Tangela.
Thank you, everybody, for all the love. Um, First, I want to just thank God for even being here. I also want to thank Kitchen Table Literary Arts, the founder Cherie, the whole team, Slam, and Nyasha for all of your work with the Our Voices, Our Community anthology. And so tonight I'm going to be reading the two poems that I contributed to the collection. And first, I want to talk a little bit about the poems, um, their style and technique, and then also a little bit about what brought me back to poetry. So first, both poems are Aintu poems, and so Aintu is a form of African American poetry, and they have the structure. They have 32 syllables, and the structure goes in a 2-4-6-8-6-4-2 pattern to kind of indicate the cyclical nature of life. They don't have to rhyme or use a specific meter. In terms of subject matter, Aintu poetry is usually used as a vehicle for sharing insight or pearls of wisdom. Some sources state that the word Aintu means pearl and is in West African language. However, it's unclear in which specific language that the word has its origins. And so, in terms of poetry, all of my degrees are in English, and I remember being a young person and learning a lot of Maya Angelou, and one of the poems that I remember so vividly kind of reciting is her Phenomenal Woman poem. And I just remember how um, strong it made me feel, of course, how beautiful it made me feel and worthy. And I wanted to kind of try to capture some of the spirit of her poems and how they kind of resonated with me even at a young age when I was writing the two poems, Brave Soul and Steadfast. And then in addition to that, I'd say, throughout working on the different degrees, I kind of lost touch with my love for poetry as I was kind of pushed to be kind of more analytical or to examine different genres of writing. But during the pandemic, I found solace and like a safe space in not only writing my own poems, but revisiting different poets that I had grown up loving. And then KTLA did. They've done several, but they did one workshop at USF where I work in my department, and we did it was a workshop around um, Audre Lorde's um, litany for survival, and then I ended up writing a litany for my students, and then from there, I think that probably was one of the main kind of sparks that just encouraged me to continue. And so I am grateful again, so grateful for KTLA and this platform to be able to share my work. And so with that, I will go ahead and read my two poems. The first one is Brave Soul, and it reads, Brave soul, morning has come, bringing last night's weeping. Look alive in the wilderness. Sustain your wild, bleeding heart. Devotion to you. And then the second one is Steadfast. And that one is I want freedom to rise with the moon and set with the sun. I want liberty with them, but it evades me. Rejoice in the struggle. And so the last thing I'll say is, and I think I kind of mentioned this earlier, but I think it's worth repeating. When things got really bad in our country, and not to say that they aren't bad today, because they are probably even worse today than they were a few years ago when I rediscovered my love for poetry, but writing poetry and reading poets, again, I would say saved my life during that time. And I don't think that is an exaggeration or hyperbole to say that. And so I'm just really grateful for the art form and grateful for the community. And with that, I'll pass it to the next presenter. Thank you so much for the love, y'all.
Thank you so much, Tangela, for your contribution. Really do appreciate you. Um, with that, we'll go ahead on to our next writer, Silk Jasmine.
Thank you so much, Slam. It's always an honor to be in y'all's presence, and just it pours so much into me. So thank you all for featuring my work and those and allowing me to read from it. So this is a short story, partial chapter of the novel I've been working on for years. A couple of you have been telling me finish the damn novel. I'm trying, I'm getting there. So it's just a romantasy. It's my first, I write speculative fiction. It's my first leaning into fantasy. I typically do magical realism or sci-fi, so this is really exciting, and I'm gonna go ahead and just jump into it. Thanks. The lioness Valkyrie Princess Leona of Ognas walked the corridor, acknowledging each of her sentinels. Once her betrothed Princess Athene of Ziran moved into the castle, the foreign princess noticed that they were all fighting off exhaustion, working double shifts every other night. Princess Athene said posts should be changed more often to ensure their alertness. Just because war hadn't crept past the border towns didn't mean danger wasn't afoot. Coming from anyone else, Princess Leona would have simply told the sentinels to just work harder lest they face punishment for a lapse in duty. But with Princess Athene, the heir was willing to humble herself more than she ever had with the exalted sage Catherine. The sentinel duties were made more bearable, the guards were grateful, and this small change from Princess Athene, and a million more, made Princess Leona realize how well-suited her lover was to rule and care for a kingdom by her side. Lost in thought, Princess Leona realized she was already at the library. Candlelight wafted into the hall. Someone else was there too. She addressed the sentinel standing guard. Emil, who's in the library? The exalted sage, queen apparent. He had a sharp nose and cheekbones with deep brown eyes. Still walking the hallways before sunrise. Her voice flitted out to the hallway. Come in, Leona. Emil glanced at the book in Leona's hand. Thank you in advance for your confidentiality. Emil nodded. When Princess Leona walked in, she couldn't see the exalted sage. There were candles on the table nearest the door, another table a bit further away with a globe on the far side. I'm not quite fluent in it yet. She gestured toward the book in front of her. It sounds even more beautiful when spoken. She had changed into a gray tunic with a black belt knotted over her left hip. Her arms were exposed, a silver caduce wrapped around her right forearm. Her wavy dark brown hair was unbraided as if for sleep. I thought my aunt was the best healer in history until I left court. We're so behind other places. She gestured towards the book. Roots and spices to reduce pain, much and more there is to learn from other healers, other crafts, other languages. Ognas have barely scratched the surface. And by the way, your father really should give up the fermented drink. You try telling him that, Princess Leona replied. I did. He laughed and asked for a remedy for indigestion, so here I am. The exalted sage reached for the quill on the table. I have to make sure my translations are correct, or I risk loosening his bows during one of the most important banquets of our history. The pair shared a laugh. The exalted sage offered the chair across from her, and Princess Leona took it. Is that my anatomy book? The exalted sage asked. I'll have you know that's from my private collection. and I thought about coming back from it. The first 3 months away were challenging without it. You could have sent for it, Princess Leona said. Ognas aren't the only one with pride, Leona, the exalted sage replied. You really should address me as queen and parent, Princess Leona said stiffly. Remember why you came here. It's to leave Catherine behind, not to banter with her. But Princess Leona was pinned to her seat, book still in hand. I should, the exalted sage stated plainly. She paused. I considered contesting. Princess Leona sat back with a thud. During wedding ceremonies, anyone could contest a betrothal, no matter the house or their social rank, and for any reason. Typically, contestants were about politics, the last chance for a house to shift an alliance or gain some kind of advantage, and every now and again it was a matter of the heart. But it rarely, if ever, happened through the tradition, though the tradition was still honored. The princess's chest tightened with the thought. How long had she wanted Catherine to return, to confess her love, to renounce her calling as healer, for the two to get married and rule side by side? But instead she waited until Leona was on the verge of everything she wanted to, considered, the exalted sage said. She went back to her book. Princess Leona could feel her own heart racing. She could hear both their hearts. You still love me. Her breath shortened. And you still use your essence to eavesdrop, the exalted sage shook her head. I wish you'd waited for me. I would have if you asked. I would have asked if we hadn't argued. And I'm not proud of the things that I said that day. It's one of my biggest regrets. I wanted to marry you. I know, the exalted sage said. Fate has a funny way with these things. Mine sure does have a humor when she's not talking in riddles. Princess Leona rubbed the back of her neck. Or maybe this is all riddles. Mine has only spoken to me once. After my naming day, the exalted sage paused. Do you still love me, Lioness? The pet name the sage called the princess in private. Of course, Princess Leona thought. She placed her hands, palms up on the table. The exalted sage slid her own into them. Athene, I'm so sorry. But Princess Leona spoke no reply out loud. Don't worry. It doesn't matter, the exalted sage continued. Loyalty above all else is why I love you. Princess Leona opened her mouth and closed it, opened it again before resigning to the truth. She loved both women, but she'd marry the one she proposed to. The exalted sage sat back, pulling her hands from Princess Leona's. I wish your love of love was extended to the people, though. We could have true peace again. Once you're queen, what you've seen in battle, the complaints in court, is nothing compared to what's happening right now, today, out there. The subjects are always unhappy for one reason or another, Princess Leona replied. The exalted sage narrowed her eyes. Unhappiness would find you too if your child died from infection, or bathed in filthy water, or starved, or if your spear wife was killed in battle for a royal that you've never even met. I beg you to listen to the people. I know they aren't your kinsfolk, but Spirit chose us to make this land our home. Princess Leona stood up from the table. But your blood is not of this soil, and there are whispers of rebellion, the exalted sage said. What is in the air tonight? First Athene, now Catherine. They were already falling into old patterns. Princess Leona was angry and flustered. Rebellion? Is that why you came back? To ruin my engagement and poison my rulership? Princess Leona's teeth turned into fangs. How dare you? How dare you? The exalted sage stood as well. I'm the exalted sage because my blood is of this land, and I can trace my lineage back to the ancestors crafted on the banks of the rivers. Emil hurried into the room. Leona held a hand up to stop him. And my oath is do no harm, the exalted sage finished. You may go, Emil. The sentinel looked between the two women, then left. Catherine walked over to Leona. She reached for a lock of hair that had fallen loose. In the last decades, the Ognas have been mostly good, but that's not enough anymore. She cupped Leona's face, thumb stroking the skin under the eye. True freedom requires change, and you could be that. Princess Leona took a deep breath. My rule will be just as my father's. The crown supports your healing work across our borders, and we thank you for your service. When I seek counsel, I will ask you for it. Princess Leona pressed the anatomy book into the exalted sage's hands. Then she kissed the other woman's forehead, lingering for a moment in the warmth, and left the library, hoping she could forget the ache in her heart. Thank you.
So you don't see the chat, Silk, but there's hearts and ooh, the heat and the tea and the complicated love and the duty and the power. We want more. Thank you for that. Wonderful to actually hear your voice narrating it after reading it so many times. Sorry, I'm multitasking here. Okay, so next, thank you, Silk. So next we have BG Thomas.
Okay. Thank you so much.
I'm going to mute myself. Thank you.
First, I just want to say thank you to all of the wonderful people that put this anthology together. I honestly don't have words, short words, to tell you how much it meant to me to have an opportunity to write and share my words. And on that note, I will share my poetry. The first is Renegade. Oh, familiar, blood of my blood, bone of my bones. What did you become? What did you make yourself believe? What did you tell your heart and soul? What did you go through? What did you survive that I might be here today? A tall, dark weed dancing among the cultured grasses, shimmering like wildfire, carrying all of you. Your mystic magic and love and desire and unfiltered dreams, all that you imagined deep inside of you. I breathe because of you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I tend to go from one extreme to the other, digging in history and then looking at today with a broken heart. Thank you guys so much. My next poem is Sandra. And I just have to say, I feel as women of color, our plight is so under spoken of, represented, and cared for. So this is what brought about Sandra. I thought you could be Sandra, standing in the dark, waiting, watching them all drive by, tinted windows, them looking out, but not letting you see in. She has her back turned, ignoring your ghost, making sure everything else is flowing smoothly, like the wind, lifting your gray skirt, exposing your brown thighs, your life leaking from your side, staining the asphalt a darker shade. A rush of wind, a rush of words gather, unable to escape your mouth, open, not capable of uttering. Spirit spills out and stands by, impatient for justice. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Beautiful. I believe Cherie put the link, just as a reminder, if you are interested in purchasing another copy, or if you have not yet gotten one, the link is up there or will be soon. Hey, Yuki. I just saw you up there. How are you? Okay, and all right, next we have Lakina Knox. Thank you, Lakina. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. First, I want to say being a part of this collection has a dream come true to me. I found kitchen table at a very low point in my life. Not only as a writer, but as a person. And the great thing about this group is as you don't live, you become family. And I'm just glad I have you all as a community. And the last thing, well, not the last thing, but I still gotta read by following our searching for the presentation, and I realized that the presentation, and with that, I'm gonna read my piece worth the waiting for. I sped down Keisha's driveway so fast that my long face went the side of my face. Tears burned my vision, so I didn't notice when my chair veered off the edge of the driveway straight into a flower bed. Damn, are you kidding me? I flew in frustration. I tried to drive my chair reverse, attempting to get back on the pavement. My front cat jammed against the concrete, preventing my wheels from moving anywhere. I moaned. I tried again to get back out of the hole I was trying to dig, but free of the flying, flying everywhere. I imagine my friends when finally into the entire kitchen house, nothing that hang over headaches. I dug my cell phone out my person dialed Xavier's number. His phone went straight to voicemail. Stop playing. Time to hockey with Caroline. And come get me a yard. And good knowing they didn't hear me over the passing bay coming from the house. It's not his fault. Your friend had to come flickering like birthday candles outside, feeling like the world's biggest butthole. Well, it's good to know you're as stubborn as I am, and I ability, and dug my nails into my chair's bone almost. For this part, I go glancing down at my talking phone, a couple of lanterns, along the driveway train that ascending dust. The large glass windows capturing everyone in various stages of high bliss. Hiking up my that I reach down, pushing my foot out of the way, preparing to take off my shoes. My even called my name, making me jump in my wheelchair. How long had he watched me talk to myself like a weirdo? I pulled my chair down over my knees, swinging my foot back into position. He jogged over to me at eye level. For a moment, I just stared at him, unable to speak. Most people never bothered to bend down and talk to me. They looked at me like I was four-legged insect under a microscope ready to dissect. Thank you.
Thank you, Lakina. Almost makes me want to fall in love. Almost. What a nostalgic piece of young love. Thank you. And I loved hearing it. I love hearing, writers narrate it after spending so much time with words on the page. It brings it to life. So thank you for that. Next, we have Mickey Bartholomew Morency.
Okay, so good evening. I just want to take this opportunity to say thank you to Kitchen Table Literary Art for always making me feel like I'm part of the family. So thank you for this opportunity to submit this piece, and I'm honored to read. I'm going to read, not the whole thing, obviously. I'm going to read like a couple of excerpts from that. I wrote this piece at a time that I was questioning a lot of inequality that I see. And as an immigrant leaving my country to come here in search of more, it was, a time that I'm trying to make sense out of everything. So it's called In America. Below are the three groups that made up the society of my childhood in a country with limited resources for most, and my adulthood in another country of material abundance shared by few. The wealthy, they play with money. The middle class, they meet their basic needs and enjoy a few wants. The poor, they trade in hope and faith currency. Back home in Haiti, I saw poverty in the faces of children who could no longer cry. I heard poverty in the voices of those who could. I lived in poverty in the many ways that my basic needs were not always met. Our four-room house sheltered me, my six siblings, my parents, many cousins, and my grandmother who could stretch a Haitian good like skin under Botox. In the end, my parents came to the United States with our family in search of more from the land of plenty. Imagine my shock when I encountered our old friend poverty right here in America. It was as if it had boarded the plane with us from Haiti, unwilling to leave our company. Like many immigrants before us, my parents worked 6 days a week, except now they have two jobs. They brought home 4 paychecks weekly, but poverty still hung around with us. For the most part, people wanted opportunities to take care of themselves. Rich folks enjoy generational wealth that guaranteed them privileges they use as rights. However, working families lived in a perpetual financial hole, and no matter how deep they dug to get out, the deficiencies pulled them back in. Red past due notices tarnished every effort at building good credit. Without it in America, life for the poor would be expensive. Yet so many obstacles stood in the way of achieving the perfect FICO score. For some, it was a goal not unlike climbing Mount Everest. Financial freedom was elusive, a dream, but it shouldn't be. There was enough for all of us. Living in poverty strips you of more than material things you need to stay healthy and safe, like food, shelter, and clothing. Poverty slowly takes away your ability to overcome the daily assault of just surviving another day, even when the car doesn't break down, the landlord doesn't raise the rent, the light bill is not bigger than the weekly paycheck, and your child is not ill, thus requiring you to miss a work day. Money buys everything, even if it doesn't guarantee happiness. The currency of poverty delays dreams, but buys illness, anger, fear, disappointment, despair. But poverty also buys hope, even in America. Thank you.
Thank you, Mickey. The first time I read your piece was almost a year ago, and I actually think it applies just as much, if not more now, than it did then. So it's one of those pieces. It's unfortunate that it's timeless, but I think it's going to be. But thank you for your piece. And next we have Tyra Marie.
Hello, everyone. Good evening, and many thanks to KTLA. You all have seen me through many ebbs and flows of the publishing process and just my author writership trajectory in general. So thank you again for this opportunity and to be a part of this moment. I wrote my mother's hair when I would say I was just charged. My heart was very convicted. One, when my sister became a mom herself. And then also when I started being asked the question, okay, what's next for you? As if, motherhood is the next trajectory in my step. When thinking about it, I am fortunate enough to have a family who never applied that pressure to me, whether we are talking about my mom, my grandmothers. Yeah, I knew them by the names of grandma and mom, but I also knew Orner, Lucinda, and Avis, who were also these wonderful, amazing, powerful women. So I'm very fortunate to my family for that. So to describe my mother's hair is an ode to the women who have carried us since their birth. God knew women were destined to be miraculous beings when he made it so that they're born with the next generation within. To think, even consider that my mother's mother held me before my first breath, before she knew my essence would come into existence. Exactly why our mother's stories should be told beyond their capacity as the irreplaceable, loving mothers they are. Their capacity, resilience, and brilliance is often overshadowed by their supportive, nurturing nature. When a woman transitions to motherhood, society then defines her solely as mom. My mother's hair captures the beautiful women who weathered the unimaginable to carry their baby girls and baby boys to fruitful trajectories. Their hair has witnessed their birth, countless storms, and transitions. My mother's hair is an ode to the women we call mom, aiming to tell the stories that lie beneath each strand. A public canvas to propel women to humbly set aside degree a public canvas to propel women who humbly set aside degrees, careers, and achievements to place mom as the greatest accolade of all. Women who happen to be mothers also deserve to be seen beyond their personal realm. And the very hairs on your head are all numbered, so don't be afraid. You are more valuable to God than a whole flock of sparrows. Luke 12:7. My mother's hair, in honor of those who gave us life, who are also more valuable than life itself. Okay, so my mother's hair. Above and below the line, she safely navigated, her silk hair, so soft the wind could lift with one touch, an undefined characteristic framing the generations to come. My mother's hair holds truth to an unspoken understanding, delicate as silk, more priceless than satin, proven more valuable than society's small sum. My mother's hair is more than who she is. Onlookers attempt to put her in a box, expecting her to adhere to the stigma of her skin color. My mother's hair carries the memories of ancestors torn and battered from their homes, the bravery of predecessors conquering the world beyond their own. My mother's hair is an addition to her beauty, not a singular definition of who she is. Her identity in parallel with its texture, soft in appearance while refusing to split under pressure. My mother's hair, in its beautiful brown hue, emulates the blessed kiss from God's shining sun, a precious artifact never to be touched by those unpermitted. My mother's hair brushes warmth into my cheek with her loving embrace, gleefully stares back at me in the mirror. My mother's hair on the hardest of days falls to my shoulders and lifts them to their upright position. My mother's hair is why I'm never indifferent. Her perimeter peppered with gray wisps of wisdom, an ode to the astute climb of any barriers in her way. My mother's hair, infinite and unwavering, weaving the hopes of the past, present, and future, an intertwined destiny fulfilled through the strands of my mother's hair. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tara Marie, for that. We really do appreciate that. Once again, for those who are just joining, did see some new people joining. Cherie did drop a link into the chat. So if you are interested in getting a copy of this beautiful book, once again, shout out to Kaula. I'm not gonna mess up your last name again. And Dennis Amadeus Signs for the beautiful visual of this book. I really do love this cover design. And for that, we're going to keep going here. We do have two more writers that are going to read. And after that, we will have our forward read by Yuki Jackson. And so with that, we're going to have Sierra Hendricks.
That's me.
Yes.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much. I just want to give a huge thank you to Kitchen Table and Cherie, especially for pushing me and challenging me. Um, this is my first ever like published official poem, so I'm super geeked about it. Um, but yeah, my poem, I'm on page 59 if you're reading in your books. My poem, What is Buried Here Will Be Reclaimed. I focus a lot on the Southern Gothic, just because I'm a Southern Black girl. I'm obsessed with Toni Morrison and her work. My dad is from like a very podunk town in Georgia. I think there's like three stoplights there. So, and he was born in like the 1940s. So I'm really interested to learn more about my family history and um kind of like what he was maybe dealing with growing up with Jim Crow in the South as a Black man. So this poem is kind of inspired by what I've imagined he has experienced or gone through and some of my own personal history, dealing with grief as a Southern Black woman. So um, here we go. Strange fruit is all that bloomed for many seasons. Trees surrendered their green leaves and Spanish moss, received a parliament of souls as compensation. In a field, women gather wildflowers for the processional. Butterflies chase ghosts of the youth. The wind dances between them, kissing cheeks and foxtrotting its way through the sky. A lady in church tells another between hallelujahs that blue flowers absorb grief, so they put seed to soil for blue hibiscus trees and butterfly pea vines. The greens and the blues sprout, but the grief never really leaves. They danced. They were still. They prayed. Lightning bugs form constellations against a terracotta sky. Thank you.
Thank you so much again for that, Sierra, and
Thanks,
congratulations
guys.
for your first published
Thank
piece.
you.
Yes. Very thankful for that. That's one thing that
Yes.
we talked about with this anthology, me, Cherie, Nyasha, while we were working on it, which how thankful and proud we were always to be people first, here at the kitchen table. We really do love, having the honor of someone saying, kitchen table, well, that was my first place I went to publish, and that was the first person. It's like it's so much into that with that, and we just love hearing people say that. So thank you so much, Sierra, and congratulations to you and anyone else too that had this anthology as your first. And we're truly honored to be able to be in your lineage, your resume, whatever you want to call it, your journey as you continue, because it's your first, but it will not be your last. So, and with that, we're going to have our last writer present before we have Yuki do our forward here for our closing and before going into our Q&A. So, let's see some reactions from Miss. Okay. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I had sent you a message. I'm sorry.
Oh,
But
go
I
ahead.
missed, and I'm backseat driving like a mug. I'm just gonna put that out there. Y'all should see this text message thread.
Okay. I missed this last one.
Yeah, it's no, but see, it said, never mind, we'll talk about it later. But yeah, so you have to co-sign it live, Nyasha. But you got it? Okay.
I got it now. Yes, I
All
do.
right.
Okay,
Okay.
but yeah, so before we have Miss Wright read, we're actually gonna have Miss Gemini Fox share her piece with us. So without further ado, Miss Gemini Fox, Stephanie Gemini Fox.
Good evening, everybody. Most of you know me. I am a poet and an author. Anytime Kitchen Table has asked me to do something, I jump at the opportunity. I find it gives me an opportunity to grow and to stretch myself. So thank you again for allowing me to enter this piece. And this piece is on page 33. It's entitled Lonely Seafoam Kisses. There are few things lonelier than a winter's evening beach stroll. The sand littered with forgotten beach day items and sand crab burrows, each step towards the water seemingly lonelier than the last. The light from the shoreline engulfed by the sound of crashing waves, the winter sea breeze presses the fullness of his weight against you. His icy tentacles burrow through clothing, igniting nerve endings to create goosebumps on unexposed skin. His attempt at pushing me back to the shore, but the open sea, she beckons you closer, beckons you to the edge of the water, beckons you with seafoam kisses. Her dark abyss promising that you could breathe her in, become one with her, never feel lonely again. Thank you.
Thank you, Gemini Fox. Do truly appreciate that, as well as all your contributions, all the ways that you show up for us and all our family. And I heard, I've said, Miss Mickey, when you said, for letting us part of your family, you are family. You are family now. We got you now. What's that? One first time a visitor, second time your family, and so yes, you are family now, and we truly appreciate that, all our family. And so we're gonna have our last writer. Before, like I said, we have our forward here. So your reactions for I'm just so used to saying clap it up. That's why I keep saying your reactions for Miss Wright.
Alafia, can everyone see and hear me? Maybe yes. No, nobody can hear me. Yes, you can.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
we can. And you look
Hi everybody. Okay, so Slam and yeah, Cherie. So Cherie is like, I don't know. I haven't the words for her yet, but thank you as always is the first thing. And Slam as well, because I am a baby Slam groupie. So it's a pleasure to be anywhere these two young ladies are at. Also, I've had the pleasure of sharing the stage with a couple of the sisters in here. And the women I'm just now hearing, I'm at a loss of words. And I know I got a bunch of stuff to read, so I'm gonna try to go fast. Whoever lined up the actual writings, I think is crazy. It's like so dope the way I fit perfectly in between my mother's hair and also the remnants of the ancestors from, I believe her name is Sierra. So thank you guys. Thank you for having me. All right. So this is Call Me Out. I don't think I'm gonna read it all. Growing up, I had 4 mothers, and they all had very different characteristics. This is a brief synopsis of 2 of them. My mama Cookie was as ghetto could be. Her African ingenuity still amazes me. She was resourceful and would feed anyone. I watched her wash our clothes in the tub and dry them in the kitchen in front of the stove. She also cursed like a drunken sailor, although I never recall her drinking, let alone seeing her drunk, unless of course it was a cold red can of Coca-Cola. She was an urban mix of dark and lovely, a mix of dark and sinister. I have personally witnessed her physically hurt and heal several different persons, myself included. As a child, her house held no gods. Statues of different deities from various cultures and religion adorned her home, but no gods. For the most part, even the statues and whatnots, origins were unknown until I got my first set of Encyclopedia Britannica books. Then I was able to identify mostly Buddha and Vishnu in various forms and an old black man or 2 in a chair. Much later in life, I would learn that black man in the chair was Eshu. Still, no Jesus. Jesus did not exist in Cookie's house. No one mentioned him. There were no pictures of him, no Bibles that I can recall, and no one ever said his name. Not until 1991. I was 9, and that was the year the iconic picture of the brother with the Tupac abs and the Busta Rhymes locks came into play. Every cool family had that picture in their house. I would like to mention that her father, my grandfather, Leonard Wright Sr., was a well-known preacher. There was still no gods in Cookie's house. My mama Tika smothered me in country love, discipline, and values. Then she drowned me in Jesus juice. This iconic invisible man could be found in every room in her home, be it a picture of him, white man, blue eyes, or a family Bible or whatnots displaying Bible verses and etc. Because of her, I still today know Psalms 23. I would visit faithfully every weekend and every school break without fail. Average routine, she picked me up on Friday after school, then we would go to the fish market. She would clean and gut fish every Friday. I remember putting the guts in the garden for the cats. It was later in life that I learned that fish guts had dual purposes, which explained why her garden bed was always so healthy. Cats kept every rodent and snake and garden snake at bay, and what the cats didn't eat fertilized the garden. FYI, cats never shit what they eat. Friday night was fish fried in pure olive oil and USA up all night with Guilford Godfrey. Then every night before bed, I would fall to my knees and bow my head and close my eyes and recite these words. Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I should die before I wake, I pray the Lord my soul to take. God bless. Insert different names. No matter how late I stayed up, Saturday morning were for chores. After consuming either cereal with a cup of milk of oatmeal or oatmeal with a cup of orange juice, I would have to go outside to get the clothes out of the washing machine that was an aluminum shed in the rear of the house. I never seen this woman wash clothes. Never knew when she went outside in that shed, but them clothes were always freshly washed and waiting on me. Once I collected the clothing and my bucket of pins, I hung them up on the clothesline. The clothesline consisted of a variety of thick plastic ropes tied from one tree to another, to a fence, to a pole erected in the middle of the backyard, back to the tree. I found a spot with the most grass, sit my clothes basket down, then one by one hung shorts and pants upside down, shirts and dresses shoulder to shoulder, skirts at the waist clipped to the line. She washed our unmentionables. That's what she called our underclothes. Not panties, not drawers, not bloomers or bras, but unmentionables. And those was washed and dried in the house. Fun fact. She owned a washing machine. She owned a washer and dryer as long as I can remember. I once asked, why not just wash all the clothes inside the house? She gave me such a long-winded, at the time, boring story about clothes being fresher from natural drying that I never asked again. I was over 30 before I realized the patience it took and the lessons she was trying to teach. My chores that usually took about 3 hours, which seemed harsh and unnecessary, didn't hold a candle to this woman's work. My day started about 9 a.m. She had indeed conquered the world and wrote a thesis paper by the end. I simply put a period at the end of her last sentence on the last page. Still, I complained, even when it was something I looked forward to doing. Case in point, every Saturday afternoon, I walked to the corner store, which made me feel responsible and made me feel needed. I enjoyed walking to the store. It made me feel important, like what I imagined being an adult would feel like. I would stroll happily to get her 2 bunches of greens, whole, never pre-cut, unless it was the last resort, and even then she would still re-clean and recut them. Leaf by leaf, plucked, examined, peeled from the stem, stacked on top of each other, rolled tightly, and cut. Sunday morning was the Lord's day. Now, me and the Lord never did see eye to eye. I had too many prayers not answered and too many questions unanswered for me to ever fully understand what all the fuss was about this mysterious white man. I would like to insert that my first functional memory of a white man was a crackhead. So maybe that played a part, or maybe just because at Cookie House there was no God. Either way, I never knew what God was, but I didn't care for him. But his son, I love singing for him. Choir was my favorite part of church. Choir and the booming voice of Reverend Goring. Today, November 30th, 2023, at approximately 7 p.m., my washing machine broke. It just keep humming and won't spin, full of clothing that are soaked and 10 times heavier, so I can't lift the machine or move it to eyeball the problem and see if the belt is broke. Either way, my washing machine died today. My high-tech Samsung washing machine and dryer set that I purchased 6 years ago, brand new from Lowe's as a proud homeowner, decided today was the day that we would go our separate ways. I was so blown that I suited my son up and he and I went on a much-needed Starbucks run. My nerves was frazzled, to say the least. My clothes was gone sour. It was cold outside. I felt too grown to have to go to the laundromat. Oh, woe is me. After I calmed my nerves, I realized how blessed I am. I realized I can go into my garage and tear my washing machine apart and YouTube self-help guides to fix it myself. Or I can get on my phone and order a new washing machine and have it delivered and set up before Friday if I chose so. Or I can just do nothing until I feel like doing something. I chose the latter and started thinking about my old girls that are no longer walking on this side anymore. Thankful that I could wash clothing with my hands if necessary, that I can hang them out to dry if necessary. Thankful that I have a home, a garage, and a broken washing machine to call my own. Thankful even more so for the inspiration to write about it. Asheo. Sorry, I ended up reading it off.
That is no problem. Thank you so much, Miss Wright, again for that. I'm pretty sure we got the same auntie. We may be related. May need to check that. Oh, and once again, thank you so much for all the writers who read tonight. But before we do our final goodbyes, I want to get all sentimental yet. We're gonna have Yuki Jackson come and read our forward to close us before we get into our Q&A.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we
Yes.
can.
Okay, awesome. Sorry, I'm at a Dunkin' Donuts right now, so it somehow feels poetic. And also the fact that thank you for still allowing me to read. And I know usually forwards come at the beginning of things, but then I was thinking maybe in a backwards world, it may make sense that what is supposed to come at the beginning would come last. So with that, the forward. I had a hard time writing this forward. Recently, I haven't wanted to write much, let alone share what I do write with other people. This is due to a number of reasons, both internal and external factors. And because of this insular space I've been residing in, I felt hazy when approaching the page. My recent distance from the act of writing resulted in me initially creating a foreword in which I spoke in general terms about the collective situation of being in Florida, our political landscape, and the implications of this wider narrative. I had planned out a whole poetic framework about how being in the Sunshine State relates to light and darkness, going on an extended metaphorical tirade about what this means for us as a society. It sounded pretty, grand, nice, but I wasn't feeling it. I felt disconnected from what I wrote because that's not what I want to write about. It felt too concealed, too vague. My entire orientation as a writer has been towards expressing myself in a clear manner about my own specific experiences, and I'm at the point where I only wish to share that. It may seem self centered, and it actually is, but it is honest. A stark contrast to speaking generally, which is always the most effective way to convey the truth. Reducing truth to generalities may be useful when establishing a religion or running for public office, but is not when it comes to storytelling. When a story is told in a vague, general manner, it invites opportunities for the truth to be obscured, twisted even, or worse, completely erased. What I find is that the vibrant pulse of truth always exists within the heartbeat of a good story. And a good story is simply the telling of a good example. Similar to parables that work to relay a deeper meaning, a hidden truth, like God, always creates themselves in their own image. This requires the spirit to be specific through flesh, bones, and breath. Giving life over and over. Each piece of writing is like our child, carrying genetic information of what has come before and what's possible. I saw this possibility while working at a public library in a historically marginalized Tampa, Florida neighborhood. When I first started working there, I discovered a stash of arts and crafts materials collecting dust in the back office. As I rummaged through the construction paper, crayons, colored pencils, scissors, glue, pipe cleaners, cotton puff balls, and wooden popsicle sticks, I wondered why these weren't being put to use, considering all the kids who filled our library every day. I asked my coworker, pointing out all the kids sitting in rows, staring at screens. She said, they won't get off the computers for anything. I decided to sit down at the middle table and started making a craft by myself. I quietly sat there, cutting, gluing, and drawing. A few minutes later, a child got up from their computer, walked over to me, and asked what was I doing. They just watched me work on the craft at first, then a few minutes later asked if they could make one too. We began working on the crafts together. Noticing us, another child got up from their computer and asked, what were we doing? They asked if they could also make a craft. After that day, I started making it a habit to sit at the middle table and do a different craft. Day by day, more children would get curious, come over, and join in. It was through this act of making crafts that helped me to see how craft works. Craft not only as an art, but as a method. A word often associated with wielding power like magic in order to produce a desired outcome. These children proved that the process of craft, at its heart, is simple. It involves delving into the back office of our mind to dust off some long forgotten material. We make use of it steadily while sharing the shaping of the materials we found, cutting when necessary, and adding more at times. Each craft we created was imperfect, but that didn't matter because producing perfection wasn't the goal. Sorry. It was to show, sorry. It was to show the children that a new reality, different from what they had been told or shown, was possible. A reality that they could shape with their own hands and imagination. This is what I hope to do too, as I write these words, willing into existence the kind of world I want, one moment at a time, our community, our voices. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yuki. We really do appreciate that. And once again, another thank you to all of you. Before we close out and get real sentimental, I see it's coming, it's coming. We are going to open this section for a Q&A, just a brief Q&A. If anyone had any questions for the writers, you can post them in the chat right now, and we will read those off.
Lam, while we're waiting for some questions to come in, I'm going to sound a little redundant because I already said this, but this was, I published myself for the first time last year in a literary magazine, although I've been writing for a long time. But this was my first time oh, thank you for the hearts. This was my first time editing, and I'm very appreciative. I've been part of Kitchen Table off and on for a while, a decade almost, maybe 8 years, but more active recently. And I just appreciate the opportunity. You know, I told Cherie, I was like, I can do it. I haven't done it before, but I can do it. And she, kind of put this in my hands, and it moved from being more editorial. Let me read this and honor each of your voices to the best of my ability, but still create this project that is cohesive. And in the process of reading your pieces and communicating with you and printing them out and highlighting them, and I had papers at one point spread over my couch in my living room. It was on the floor, and I was laying on the floor trying to figure out, like, how can I honor these voices and still create a story? And there was this narrative, a story arc that started to develop as I reread each of the pieces. So the thematic approach to it really came about from reading and connecting with each piece. And every time I read it, and I've read each one of your pieces so many times. Every time I read it, I felt something else. I connected with something else. I heard something else. And it truly was just an honor. And then going from that to then rereading our title, Our Voices, Our Community, even having not met most of you, I felt that we were family. We were part of a community just through our words and our experiences. And it truly was affirming and an honor for me to be part of this process. It was hours and hours and hours of hard work and joy to read every syllable of your pieces. And I just wanted to thank you for, and especially those of you who have never met me, to allow me to read your piece and trust me to edit it and still honor your voice. It was an honor, and I appreciate each of you for I guess trusting me as we go through this process together. So thank you.
Thank you for that. And just to point out some of the things. Silk did say 2028. The novel's coming. I'm saying it out loud for everyone to hear. Um, that was something that's mentioned. Also, Sierra, Miss Wright has a gift for you. If you haven't checked the chat, she would love to send you a beautiful, wonderful gift. So please take a look at that. And then,
I
of course,
saw, oh, sorry.
go ahead.
I said I saw, I'm gonna connect with her
Okay,
when I
perfect.
get
I
a
love
chance.
that.
Yeah.
Perfect. And then just a lot of wonderful comments and praises to these amazing writers who contribute. To this anthology. We also had some other writers who contribute who didn't read, but we thank you so much for attending. Once again, Cherie did put the link in the chat. As far as if you want to get any additional copies or knowing anyone who wants to get a copy, we're also going to be posting this video of you all reading. So anyone who wanted to hear you all recite who didn't get a chance to make it tonight, they will be able to go back and watch this video as well. Without further ado, I mean, that's pretty much, we want to thank you all for coming. Since there's no questions and answers, we're going to give you all back the rest of okay. Oh, are we planning on publishing another anthology? Yes, in the future, we are planning on doing this again. We can't give you any exact details or information on it at this time, but we did enjoy doing this. We enjoyed the process. We enjoyed all the writers. Contributing, and so we do want to do another anthology, but like I said, we just don't have any exact dates. So keep a lookout. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to our newsletter. You can do that through our website, kitchen-table.org, and that's where we'll put all our updates. We also going to have some things coming up this season, so if you want to keep up with us, once again, subscribing to the newsletter, following us on Instagram and Facebook as well is how you can get some more information. I just want to make sure I'm looking at the chat as it coming in, make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay. All right, yeah. So yes, that's one way that you can follow and know what we have going on. Next month is National Poetry Month, so I encourage you all to continue to write, continue it to express throughout this year. And as we go into National Poetry Month as well. Once again, want to give a shout out to the Poetry Foundation for helping us to get this anthology going and sponsoring and supporting us. Another shout out to Kyla for this beautiful cover art, as well as to Amadeus Signs for helping us get the visuals out for this anthology as well. Quick answer: no, we do not have spoken word nights. We do sometimes have readings. But we don't specialize in spoken word here at Kitchen Table. We do more poetry, written storytelling, prose. But please feel free to take a look at some of our, we do share some things about spoken word nights because we have people who are friends who do spoken word nights that we partner with them as well. We advertise for them as well. So check our Instagram if you are interested in more spoken word things as well. So, all right. So I want to thank you all again. I don't want to hold y'all any longer. I want to thank you all again. Thank you to the beautiful writers. This is a beautiful anthology. If you don't have any other closing remarks, all right. Well, if all hearts and minds are clear, y'all, I want to thank y'all. You all have a beautiful night. Someone says it's a Pisces moon going on. I'm not sure what that means. I'm sure Cherie and some of y'all know what that means. But I'm not sure what that means. But it's obviously a good sign. So y'all take a look at the moon and y'all enjoy yourselves and have a safe and wonderful and beautiful night. And thank y'all again. And congratulations to all of you as well, especially first-time publishers. Congratulations. You are a published writer. So thank you.
Thank you, Slam.
Thank you.
Y'all take care.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night, everyone. This always feels like the Brady Bunch when each person says good night. I love you guys. Ciao.
Bye. Bye, everyone.
Good day.